What if I told you that secret documents have been leaked, confirming that we are not alone, and worse, that our governments have known about it for a long time and hid everything from us? Military personnel have confessed, scientists have warned, and even former presidents have left clues. Today, you're going to discover the files that prove contact with non-human intelligences and what that means for humanity. Imagine a world where the truth has always been hidden, buried under layers of disinformation, where those who dare to expose it are silenced. Now, what if I told you that leaked secret documents confirm that we are not alone? It happened on a quiet night when an anonymous whistleblower sent a series of files to investigative journalists. These were military documents, intelligence reports, and transcripts of encounters describing something shocking. Not only have we observed UFOs, but we have interacted with beings from other worlds. One of the first shocking documents came from the Pentagon and referenced the infamous Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. Officially shut down, the program studied unidentified aerial phenomena. But according to these files, the story runs much deeper. Reports described objects that defied the laws of physics, able to change direction instantly and vanish without a trace. Among the leaks, there were mentions of a group of scientists and military officials assigned to study debris of unknown origin. The most intriguing part? Lab tests suggested that the materials found could not have been manufactured on Earth. But if this were true, why has this information never been made public? Was the leak of these documents a mistake, an act of bravery, or part of a controlled revelation? The first clues were there, but the story was far from over. The next documents would reveal something even more disturbing, accounts from military personnel who claim to have had direct contact with these entities. For decades, UFO sightings have been dismissed as hallucinations, misinterpretations, or baseless conspiracy theories. But what if the military themselves, trained to identify any aerial threat, started reporting something impossible to ignore? That's exactly what happened. Leaked documents reveal that high-ranking officers and experienced pilots have reported direct encounters with objects that shouldn't exist. One of the most striking cases involved Commander David Fravor, a U.S. Navy pilot who, during a training mission in 2004, encountered something that defied all known laws of physics. What he saw became known as the Tic-Tac UFO case. Radar systems picked up an object moving at impossible speeds, performing maneuvers no earthly aircraft could execute. Fravor and his team were sent to investigate, and as they approached, they saw something unbelievable. An object with no wings, no visible propulsion, and no sign of human technology. When they tried to follow it, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Records of this incident were classified until leaks brought the truth to light. And this was no isolated case. Another revealing document included reports from military personnel claiming to have had direct interactions with extraterrestrial beings. A former U.S. intelligence agent, whose name remains classified, described a mission where a reconnaissance team discovered unusual underground structures at a military base. When they entered, they were met with humanoid entities that, according to him, didn't seem to be from this planet. But these encounters always ended the same way, with a massive cover-up. Any military member who dared to speak publicly about these events was discredited, reassigned, or in more extreme cases, simply vanished from the radar. If these accounts are true, it means that contact has already happened, but it has been hidden for decades. And more than that, governments know exactly who we're dealing with. If contact has already taken place and governments have concealed this information, an even more unsettling question arises. What exactly are they hiding? Over the years, theories have suggested that underground facilities exist where humans and extraterrestrials secretly collaborate. These stories were once dismissed as science fiction, but leaked documents and testimonies from former military personnel suggest that this may be the truth we were never meant to know. Among the secret facilities mentioned in these documents, one of the most enigmatic is the Dulce Base in New Mexico. It is believed to be a hub for top-secret experiments, where alien technology is being studied and possibly integrated into military projects. But the scariest part isn't just the technology, it's the rumors that certain non-human entities are directly involved in these experiments. Leaked reports indicate that scientists and engineers were recruited to work on highly classified projects inside the base. One former employee, whose testimony was recorded anonymously, stated that entire sectors had extremely restricted human access, and the reason for that was something he could never fully understand. He described underground corridors where humanoid-looking beings were seen moving around, but they never spoke. They only watched. One of the most shocking revelations in these documents refers to an alleged secret agreement between the US government and extraterrestrial entities. This pact, known as the Gradual Treaty, was supposedly made during Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency in 1954. The agreement allegedly allowed certain alien species to conduct genetic experiments on Earth in exchange for technological advancements provided to the US government. But according to the documents, something went terribly wrong. Reports suggest that at some point, control slipped from human hands, and extraterrestrials began operating without restrictions, going far beyond what had been agreed upon. The unanswered question remains: what exactly are they doing in these bases? And more importantly, how many of these secret facilities exist worldwide? If there's one event that symbolizes the beginning of the modern UFO era, it's Roswell, 1947. To this day, what really happened that night in the New Mexico desert remains shrouded in mystery. But what if I told you that leaked secret documents reveal that Roswell was just the tip of the iceberg? On the morning of July 8, 1947, the Roswell Daily Record made headlines with Air Force captures flying disc on ranch in Roswell region. The news spread like wildfire across the country, but just hours later the government changed the story. Suddenly, the so-called flying disc was nothing more than a weather balloon that had been mistakenly identified. However, leaked documents tell a very different story. Reports from the time describe debris with properties never seen before, extremely lightweight yet resistant metals that couldn't be cut or damaged. Even more disturbing, unofficial accounts claim that bodies were recovered at the crash site. Non-human bodies. Over the years, multiple witnesses connected to the incident have stated they were forced into silence. Major Jesse Marcel, one of the first military personnel to arrive at the scene, admitted before his death that the government's explanation was a cover-up. He described the wreckage as something that could never have been made by human hands. Another leaked document mentions a special recovery team sent to the area, which allegedly transported the remains of the craft and possibly living or deceased beings to secret bases, possibly Area 51. The objective? To study them and to keep the truth hidden from the public. But Roswell wasn't the only event where the government moved quickly to suppress the truth. Cases like Kecksburg, 1965, where witnesses saw a bell-shaped object crash from the sky, only for the military to arrive and clear the area immediately. Rendlesham, 1980, one of the most compelling cases of extraterrestrial contact inside a NATO military base in England. The strategy was always the same: discredit witnesses, confuse the media, and label everything as a conspiracy theory. If Roswell was just a test run for government cover-ups, then it means they were already aware of extraterrestrial presence long before 1947. But then, what was really recovered at Roswell? If an alien spacecraft did crash in Roswell and in other secret locations, the real question isn't just who was piloting it, but how these spacecraft actually operate. And what if I told you that a mysterious chemical element might be the key to extraterrestrial propulsion? In the 1980s, a man named Bob Lazar came forward with a disturbing story. He claimed to have worked in a highly classified sector within Area 51, known as Sector S4, where engineers were tasked with studying extraterrestrial spacecraft in an effort to reverse engineer their technology. According to Lazar, UFOs didn't use conventional fuels as we know them, but instead relied on a mysterious and unstable element that he called Element 115. At the time, science didn't even acknowledge the existence of such an element. But decades later, in 2003, a group of Russian scientists successfully synthesized Element 115, which was officially named Moscovium, MAC. The big question is, if Lazar was lying, how could he have known about an element that wouldn't be discovered for decades? Leaked secret documents indicate that the technology of recovered spacecraft may be capable of manipulating gravity through a nuclear reaction involving Element 115. This system would allow a spacecraft to bend space-time itself, eliminating the need for conventional fuel and enabling near-instant interstellar travel. If this technology were real, it would explain how these objects can move at impossible speeds without generating heat or noise, how they defy gravity, hovering in place and accelerating without suffering any impact, how they suddenly vanish, as if they're slipping through dimensions. But if this technology exists, why do we still rely on conventional engines? Leaked documents suggest that any attempt to bring this technology into public knowledge is immediately suppressed. Patents are blocked. Scientists are silenced. Every effort to expose this knowledge is discredited. This leads to a troubling conclusion. If governments and the military have had access to this technology for decades, what else are they hiding? If all of this is just a conspiracy theory, then why have world leaders and renowned scientists hinted in public statements and interviews that much more is happening behind the scenes? And what if I told you that several former US presidents have left subtle clues that we are not alone? Leaked documents mention an extremely mysterious event involving President Dwight D. Eisenhower. In 1954, while in Palm Springs, California, Eisenhower suddenly disappeared from his official schedule for a short period. At the time, the White House claimed he had gone to an emergency dental appointment. But witnesses say he secretly traveled to Edwards Air Force Base for a historic meeting. Reports indicate that these visitors offered to share advanced technology in exchange for the nuclear disarmament of humanity. But, according to theories, the US government rejected this proposal and instead made a deal with another race, leading to the previously mentioned Greada Treaty. Former President Jimmy Carter was always an advocate for UFO transparency. Before his election, he claimed to have seen an unidentified flying object in the Georgia sky in 1969. During his campaign, he promised to release all secret UFO files if elected. But once in office, Carter was denied access to crucial information. Years later, in an interview, he stated, "The truth about UFOs is far beyond what any of us could imagine. If even a president couldn't access the files, then who is really controlling this information?" In 2021, Barack Obama made an unexpected statement on a talk show. "There are videos and records of flying objects that we can't explain." This was one of the first times a former president publicly acknowledged that real phenomena are being studied and that conventional explanations simply don't add up. Beyond political leaders, renowned scientists have also dropped hints that something much bigger is happening. Dr. Jacques Vallée, one of the leading UFO researchers, believes that these entities are not just extraterrestrial, but something far more complex, possibly interdimensional. Michio Kaku, a theoretical physicist, stated that the Pentagon's recent document releases are only the tip of the iceberg, suggesting that the full truth is still far from being revealed. If former presidents and scientists have already hinted at something bigger, then why has this revelation never happened officially? The documents suggest that a sudden disclosure could trigger social, economic, and religious collapse. And now we reach the most important point of all. Is this revelation already happening in a controlled manner? What if I told you that the definitive disclosure is not a question of if, but when? For decades, anyone who spoke about UFOs and extraterrestrials was ridiculed, discredited, or silenced. But suddenly something changed. Governments began declassifying documents. Military officials started confirming encounters with unknown objects. Mainstream media began treating the phenomenon seriously. Is humanity being prepared for a gradual revelation? In recent years, the US Department of Defense has released a series of videos showing unknown objects being pursued by military jets. These objects emitted no heat. They moved in ways impossible for any known technology. They vanished from radars as if defying the laws of physics. But the most intriguing part was the official government statement. We don't know what they are, but we know they are not our technology. This marks an unprecedented moment in history. For the first time, governments publicly acknowledge that there's something in our skies that cannot be explained. If tomorrow, a government officially confirmed that we have been visited by non-human intelligences, what would happen? Would religions collapse or adapt to the new reality? Would the global power structure be challenged? Could an economy based on scarcity survive if technology existed that rendered fossil fuels obsolete? The documents suggest that full disclosure should have already happened, but certain powerful groups are controlling it to ensure the impact is minimal and beneficial for those at the top of the power pyramid. If everything revealed so far is true, then we've already had contact. Governments know the truth. Alien technology is being secretly used. Humanity is being prepared for a controlled disclosure. The big question is, what will happen the moment this truth is fully exposed? If leaks continue, we might not be far from finding out. The revelation may be closer than we think.